Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get underway, massive crowd here. I've got a few administrative matters to take care of. First, the fire exit is located to your left. In the event of a fire, you will be notified by an announcement. If so notified, please move in a calm and orderly fashion to the exit. Do not use the elevators. Use either the north or the south stairs to leave the building. Our meetings are recorded by our Secretary, Michelle, for the purposes of a record and minutes. So when you come to the microphone, please identify yourself each time and speak into the microphone clearly so that she can hear what you're saying and take notes. She is not producing a transcript, just minutes. The board follows the items in the order that they appear on the agenda. Extra copies of the agenda are available on the table just inside the door to your left. Once the case has been called, the applicant or their representative will come to the podium, identify himself or herself, state their address, pause a moment, raise their right hand, be sworn, and then present their case. During the presentation of the applicant's case, the zoning board members will have an opportunity to ask questions or engage in discussions with the applicant. Once that process is completed, the case will be open to public input. Anyone wishing to speak to the board regarding the application will come to the podium and identify themselves along with their address and direct their questions or comments to the board. We've previously identified 3 categories of public input. The first that we'll call for is those in favor of the application. The second is those opposed to the application. And the third are those who are neither in favor nor opposed, but just want to talk to us about some aspect of the application. Once all the public input has been completed, the applicant or their representative will be given the opportunity, if appropriate, to respond to any public input. Once that process is completed, we close the case and move on to the next case. After all the cases have been heard, the board will take a short recess and then return to deliberate the cases in the order that the cases appear on the agenda and for which applicants remain present. No further input is allowed at this point, but you're welcome to stay and listen to the deliberation. If you wish to leave, you can find out the results by tuning in on somewhere up in the 1300s on cable, or easier perhaps coming and calling into the Town Planning and Zoning Department tomorrow after 9 a.m. Before we get underway, I just want to say that we have had a resignation of our member Andre Evans has taken an employment position out of town, and so he's no longer able to serve on the board. I'd like to take this minute just to recognize his service for many years, his valuable input, and he will be missed. Also, our member Tim Scott is absent tonight. So we have 5 members of the board. It requires 4 members of the board to make a decision, so I think we'll be fine for the evening. But if for any reason an applicant would prefer to have their case heard by a full board, we'll be glad to table it for you, and you can come back in March or April or whenever you'd like. So now we'll call the first case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item on our agenda is case number ZB 2020-20. ZB 2020-02-1. Upon the matter of request by Land Tech Surveying and Planning, acting as agent for Gloria Maynard and John and Barbara Scahill for an area variance to reconfigure 2 adjacent parcels on premises 1376 Titus Avenue and 28 Harmony Lane with less than required lot area on 1376 Titus Avenue in an R1 residential district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Sharaba with Land Tech. I'm here representing the Maynards and Scahills.
You swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So, thank you for hearing this case this evening. This is a kind of a average thing. Mr. Scahill is a very active person, has a lot of activities, a lot of outside the home, needs a need for storage. If you've been to his property, you realize you have no backyard. It slopes significantly down to a creek, has no room for a shed down in the lower portion of his property. He's been trying to figure out a way so he can achieve his goals for storage. Talked to his neighbor, Miss Maynard, who lives on the corner of Titus, and said that she'd be willing to sell a piece of property to him because she's got a rather large piece of property between her garage and her property line. So the Scales would like to purchase approximately 40 by 60 piece of property from her for a proposed shed so that he can use that shed for storage. Once we set that property line, we created a division lot size on the corner lot of the Maynard parcel, we're short by about 700 square feet. So therefore, we needed an area variance for lot size for that parcel only. At the completion of the subdivision, that corner lot will be 190 feet deep and 60 feet wide, which is a very big lot considering the zoning of R1. We feel that this lot change and lot line and the variance we're requesting will not negatively affect the neighborhood. The lot sizes will not look or appear any different than the neighbors. There won't be any physical changes. We're not blocking any drainage patterns or any sidewalks or anything like that with the lot line change. We feel it's not a significant change. We're only about 7% deficient of code, so I think that's very minor as well. It is self-created. Mr. Scahill does want to have a shed, and this is really the only way he can do it. So that's really what we're looking for. Gloria Maynard is here as well, who's the person selling it. And from my understanding, she really doesn't use any of that area north of her garage. It's kind of a maintenance nightmare. So I think this will add to the neighborhood and make it more appealing. So that's a quick overview of what we're asking for. I can answer any questions at this time.
One comment, one question. The application talked about the property at 26 Harmony, but we're doing a variance on 1376 Titus.
Correct.
Okay. Second thing is the wooden fence that goes around the property, is that going to be removed?
It will be on the north side that makes that division line so we can access the future
Okay.
shed.
All right. That's all I have.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll open up the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about sheds or moving property lines or anything like that? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this case. Move on to the next matter on the agenda. Thank you, sir.
Next case on the agenda is case number ZB 2020-02-2. Upon the matter of request by John and Allison Curry for an area variance to construct an attached garage addition with less than required side setback on premises 340 Oak Ridge Drive in an R1 residential district.
Yes, good evening. I'm John Curry. I'm the owner and I occupy the property. I'm also a licensed professional engineer. And I live at 340 Oak Ridge.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Let's see, basically the proposal is to expand an existing attached one-car garage on the house to make it a two-car garage. And specifically, the area variance requested is to reduce the side setback where that garage is to add 5.5 feet to the garage width. The R1 zoning requires a side setback of 10% of the property width. I think you have a plat of the property. You can see it's a fairly irregular shaped semi-triangular property. Based at the front line of the building, that setback would be somewhere between 12.5 and 15 feet, depending on how you interpret the rules on that. The variance requested is to reduce the side setback to 5 feet. Maintaining 5-foot setback would allow for walking access to the backyard without imposing on my neighbor. It also maintains the minimum 10 feet separation required for fire code. I'll note that the neighbor's house is somewhere around 15 or 20 feet from the property line. And let's see, I'll also have a single overhead garage door in the back of the new garage to allow access to the backyard. In the case that there needs to be like larger maintenance back there, there's a septic system back there. I can go into specific details on the factors to address for the area variance, but basically, I think maybe you can see from the plans, I'm trying to make this look like I never did anything to the house. It's a relatively small addition to the house, but because of the way the house is sited on the lot, that really is the best aesthetic and probably the best solution for coming up with a two-car garage. Again, in that area, there's old-growth trees, steep slopes, and it makes it difficult to site a separate structure anywhere else on the property. Other than that, I think I sent to the secretary a letter from each of my neighbors on either side of the house as it faces the street. And I went over the plans with them. They had no objections to it. In particular, Mr. Hudson, who lives on that side of the property, had no objection to the property there.
Any questions or comments from the board? The only thing I found remarkable about your application is that you took a picture of your house and of the neighbors on January 2nd, and it doesn't appear that there's a flake of snow.
I know. Looks like the middle of summer, yeah.
All right, we'll open it up to the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about two-car garages or anything like that? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this case. And rather than take a short recess, we'll just move in. All the applicants are present, so we'll go back to the top of the agenda with respect to the application, the application pertaining to 1376 Titus Avenue and 28 Harmony Lane. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? Seeing none, I'll move that we grant make a motion that we grant the variance based on the following findings of fact. There will be no change of any significance whatsoever to the character of the neighborhood. The alternatives that do not require a variance would be to leave the property line where it is, which would defeat the purpose of being able to use the property in a better manner for both of the owners of the property. It is not a substantial request. It is less than a 10% variance from the size of the lot that's required. And the way the lots are configured, it would not be noticeable to anyone without taking careful measurements and comparing it to the code. There will be no adverse physical or environmental effect if the application is granted. It is self-created only to the extent that it is dependent upon the fact that the other portions of the lot would prohibit the erection of a shed, and that would be it. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Do you want to list the letters?
Oh,
There's
yes.
3 letters.
There were 3 letters that were sent. Well, it was a letter that was signed by Ms. Maynard, Mr. Scahill, and Ms. Scahill, who are the owners of the property.
There's 2 other letters in
Were there 2 other letters?
towards the end of the packet. It's hard to Alimo? Yeah.
Oh, yes. From Virginia Alamo and another neighbor. Yes. All right. Thank you. Any discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 5 votes in favor. No opposed. No abstentions. 2 members of the board are, well, actually, 1 member of the board is absent, and the other board is deficient to the extent of 1 member.
The next application pertains to 340 Oak Ridge Drive. Does anyone wish, this is a type 2 action for seeker purposes also. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll move that we adopt it or approve it.
Thank you.
There you go, I made a little cheat sheet here.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yes, you too. I vote for his garage.
Enjoy your shed.
All right, adding this extension to the garage, actually you're gonna tear down the old garage and build a new one, right?
I think that's what was coming.
Okay, that's kind of, it looked like it'd be hard to just add to it. The addition of the garage, I don't think will change the character of the neighborhood. I don't believe there's any other feasible alternative there because of the way the site, configuration of the site, and the way the ground drops away in the backyard. It doesn't appear to be a substantial variance. We're only 5 feet away from the property line. It does put a little closer to the neighbor's driveway, but again, it's still not substantial, and that's a nice wooded area, so I don't see a problem there. It should have a very minimal effect on the physical environmental conditions in the neighborhood. We're just increasing the impervious area, the roof area, by a little bit. And it is self-created because obviously the homeowner wants larger garage surface, but I don't think that precludes the granting of the variance.
I'll second it. And there's 2 letters in here too.
There's 2 letters were submitted by the neighbors on either side of the affected property. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 5 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. 1 member of the board is absent, and the board is constituted with 1 less member than the full board.
I missed it, but did you mention that these were type 2 actions?
Yes,
Okay.
got let off with that. That's all right.
One of those days.
Yes, I understand completely, trust me. Is there any other business to come before the board? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Is that a record?
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Zoning Board on ICAT Government Access. We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Zoning Board on ICAT Government Access.